Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Stronger 2024 Cybersecurity Virtual Conference. My name is Hayat Saeed from Toronto, Canada. I am here with my co-host, Paris Adi from Castra Cybersecurity. Today, we will talk one of the most pressing issues of our time, the top cybersecurity threats in 2024, emerging cybersecurity trends, and how to mitigate them. This presentation offers a high-level overview of the evolving cybersecurity landscape. Our agenda will cover the following key topics: human risk, AI narrative attacks, deepfakes, AI response and data leakage, supply chain vulnerabilities, mitigation strategy, and best practice. 5 stages of cybersecurity grief, a framework for our understanding how security teams and business emotionally react to the breach and evolving threat landscape. So the first step is denial over and over, and then anger and bargaining, depression and acceptance. So the top security threats in 2024. As I said, human risk, human error, and narrative attacks, example, misinformation and disinformation, deepfakes, example, image, video or audio, AI response and data leakage, example, exposure of sensitive information, and supply chain, example, threats, third-party threats, vulnerabilities. We'll deep dive on the next slide. Let's begin by addressing one of the most critical challenges in cybersecurity, human risk. People remain the weakest link in cybersecurity chain. Human error, insider threats, and social engineering. Human error was a major contributing cause in 95% of all breaches. 95% of all breaches. Let that sink in. Yeah. Types of human risk: insider threats, the employee or contractor intentionally or unintentionally, social engineering attacks, manipulating individuals to reveal sensitive information, phishing and spreading spear phishing, detective emails designed to trick individuals into revealing sensitive information in the organization, careless or negligence, employee or contractor, lack of security awareness, failing to invest in going training program. The impact, what are the impacts of human risk? Of course, it's number one, data breach, loss of intellectual property, the toll of financial loss and legal implication of your organization, and the reputation damage of your organization, the disruptive effect of operational downtime. So how to mitigate the strategy for the human risk? Security awareness training. By far, this is the most critical. Conduct monthly, quarterly training sessions. No amount of technology can defend the organization against social engineering attacks. And regularly simulated phishing tests, MFA authentication, implement MFA authentication, regularly simulated phishing tests, mimic real-world phishing scenarios, and monitor and limit privileged access, establish clear policies and procedures in the organizations, encourage reporting, employee feel easy reporting, so make it easy for them to report any suspicious activities in your organization, creating a security conscious culture as a whole. What's AI today? AI technology is both exciting and terrifying. An organization must be proactive to stay ahead of the cyber criminals. Cyber attacks, not if, but when mindset is necessary. we have seen over and over, especially in this year. So I think everyone is remember November 30th, 2022, the ChatGPT released. And on the other hand, warm ChatGPT, the evil ChatGPT used for cyber attacks and scammers. Unleashing the dark side of AI, meet warm GPT. Data privacy and ethical concerns, access and orchestration, vulnerabilities and exploitation. AI-driven narrative attacks. What are narrative attacks? Manipulating narrative to discredit organization or influence public opinion, coordinated dissemination, the spread across multiple channels, leveraging various media formats such as text, audio, video to maximize reach and impact, often used to spread misinformation and disinformation. The impact of narrative attacks, it's a long list. Reputational damage to your organization and decision-making influence, erosion of trust in institution, influence on public opinion, social polarizations, election interference, economic disruptions. It's long list. The example of narrative attacks in 2024 election misinformation. As we know, the upcoming election, major election in US, and social media campaign influence public behavior. We have seen so many of them in this year. Corporate smear campaigns. How do we mitigate the narrative attacks? The first, media literacy campaigns. Educate public to recognize misinformation and disinformation. A real-time misinformation detection tool. Of course, we can leverage the AI-based monitoring system. And verification, verify your source and just cross-reference new form of multiple trusted sources. And rapid response teams, establish team to counter disinformation with accurate information. And public-private collaboration also is very important. Foster partnership between governments and technical companies, tech companies. And crisis communication plans. Prepare, communicate strategy for countering disinformation in your organizations. The hostile use cases. Deepfake, a rising threat. What are deepfakes? AI-generated synthetic media such as image, video, or audio, used to impersonate individuals or create fake scenarios. So this year, 2 months ago, a fake IT workers from North Korea attempted to gain access to security awareness training provider, KnowBe4. The fake employees stolen a US-based identity to become a software engineer at KnowBe4. After passing interview and background check, the company hired a fake employee. After the company delivered the Mac workstation to employee, the moment it was received, it immediately started to load malware. So if you really want to deep dive on this story, you can read on KnowBe4. A real-world example of deepfakes. Why we need to be worried about the deepfakes videos? If a picture is worth 1,000 words, what a video worth? Also, in the beginning of this year, at the Hong Kong office of a multinational corporation, hackers executed a groundbreaking scam by combining phishing email with a deepfake video call. Attackers impersonated a senior executive during the video call, convincing a financial employee to transfer 200 million across 15 transactions to multiple Hong Kong bank accounts. The scammer went unnoticed until the fraudulent transfer were finally detected. This incident marked a new level of sophistication in cybercriminal, blending social engineering and cutting edge of AI technology. So what's the potential impact of deepfakes? Fraudulent and identity theft, as we know, is increasing, and corporate espionage, political manipulation, reputational damage to your organization. How do we mitigate the deepfake risk? I think organizations need to reassess three major areas: your process, people, and technology. When I say process, evaluate internal control, your policies, your procedures, you need to review and update. And people, staff awareness and training, audio and video authenticity, and the technology, the tools and the systems that supports and amplify human effort and process. It's just an asset, our technology. And here, this is more mitigation for deepfake risk. It's the source is Deloitte. You can go over this information. AI response data leakage. The risk of AI response. AI tools are intentionally leakaging sensitive information, which is not good for the organization. LLM can hallucinate or reveal confidential information, confidential data. So how data leakage occurs with AI? Sharing sensitive data in AI queries, AI system mistakenly revealing password and IP, which we don't want to be revealed for outside entity. AI generated response containing confidential information. What's the consequence of AI data leakage? Exposure of sensitive information such as company IP, password, a risk of non-malicious data leakage, leaks by AI tools, damage client trust and legal impacts of your organization, financial loss. How do we mitigate AI data leakage risk? Number one, strict data governance and privacy policies in your organization. Limit AI access to sensitive information. Regularly auditing of AI systems. Train your employees on secure use of AI tools. Now I will hand over to my co-host, Faris Adi, to cover the remaining slides. Over to you, Faris.
Thank you, Haya. Thank you for... So thank you so much for joining this session. Now in my turn, and I'm going to talk about the supply chain cybersecurity risk. And I'm going to start with the year 2024, that it has brought us with a heightened sense of urgency regarding the supply chain risk, which honestly emerged as one of the most pressing cybersecurity concerns with organizations, because depending on third-party vendors, and in some cases, fourth-party vendors or fifth-party vendors, and it's up to you to know, and it's your discovery process to find if your vendor is using another third-party or a fourth-party to provide you with the services. So now, you know, the playground now with the supply chain become, and don't forget about the interconnected systems, we have become attackers' playground when it comes to the supply chain attack. What does it mean? That a single vulnerability in a vendor system can now compromise the security of the entire supply chain, and the consequences, they are unfolding right away in real time. So I'm going to speak about and give you examples from the Move It transfer breach that happened in 2024. The CSense attack, again, demonstrate how easily these actors, those bad actors, they can infiltrate systems through seemingly any secure platforms. So these incidents, they are very strong reminders to us that no organization, they can afford to ignore the supply cybersecurity practices. And when you look at those risks, starting with the software vulnerabilities, the lack of transparency from the vendors themselves, and even sensitive data that can be intellectual, personal, or information, these can be compromised through the suppliers. Next slide, please. So let's now talk about some real-life examples of the supply chain, and let's delve into one of the most notorious supply chain attacks in the recent history, Let me start with 2020, during the pandemic with SolarWinds, and the MoveIt attack in 2023, very recent, and also the CSense attack in April 2024. So those examples, they are stark reminders of the severity of the third-party vulnerabilities in today's interconnected digital ecosystems. In those cases, the attackers, they have exploited just one single point of compromise to infiltrate multiple organizations, including government agencies and major enterprises. So if I remind you with the SolarWind in 2020, the hackers, they infiltrated the company using an Orion software. They embed in that software a malicious code into an update. And that allowed the attackers to access a network of approximately more than 32,000 organizations who really thought this is really an update. No one thought this is really, a malware. And that also compromised prominent US government agencies and major corporations like Microsoft and Cisco. The breach went undetected for months. And this is where we don't have the time to show you the timeline, but those guys were inside the network in SolarWind for more than 9 months. And that's also highlighting to you how important the vulnerabilities in the supply chain and how it can lead to a major outage, the same outage we experienced this year in 2024. If you recall the CrowdStrike outage, that it has canceled more than 1,800 flights. If you go back to the MoveIt, and I was one of the people who used MoveIt in 2023, the hackers exploited vulnerabilities. And for people who does not know MoveIt, MoveIt is an organization using it to manage secure profiles transfer. So if I want to send a profile or a secure profile to my client, I can use MoveIt. And it should be a secure software to exchange rather than using, emails. And unfortunately, with using MoveIt, that resulted in a significant data breach for numerous organizations. They rely on this software for secure communication. So again, many different examples, and those examples, they underscore the need for more stringent security measures at every stage of the supply chain. And we have to understand that no organization is an island or an isolated. They need to think that they are living in their isolation. And the weakest link in the supply chain can be the gateway to a catastrophic breach. And each of us will play a crucial role in maintaining the integrity of our systems. Next slide, please. Now, basically, we have to be more proactive. Now, with what Hayat mentioned earlier about using AI, we need to be more proactive, and we need to be more strategic about how we can mitigate those risks for the supply chain. And being proactive, meaning we need to implement, and I think most of you heard about the VRM, the vendor risk management. You need to have, or TPRM as well, they call it a third-party risk management framework. And you need to adapt also a zero trust architecture, because you need to trust, for you inside or outside users or devices, they should be treated the same. You need to also to have a continuous vulnerability scanning and regular audits to make sure those weaknesses, you caught them early and more proactive before they got exploited, because now the exploitation, they are depending highly on AI. And the response plans, they should be tailored to the supply chain breaches, because if you want to have an effective responses. We can significantly reduce the attack service by focusing more to secure on the software development practices, contractual agreement with vendors that they can enforce strict security protocols. So those very important. Again, what happened with CrowdStrike also, this is a wake-up call that building a security, a testing environment is very important. And even because of the interdependency of those tools we are using, we have to make sure we are building something or simulate something close to production. So we need to make sure we spend the time testing those before we deploy anything to production. Next slide, please. So again, those are the summary. I don't want to go one by one, but those are for you to look at the mitigation strategies as well as a summary. But I can say that to protect against any emerging threats, organization, they must, prioritize continuous security awareness training to mitigate the human error. We should not forget about the human error, the insider threat, and the social engineering risk. So the companies, they need to be more proactive about it, because if you are keep giving your employees the same awareness training, that this material becomes an outdated, they are not really addressing or tackling the AI or the new tactics of the social engineering, that is you're going to be a problem. And please don't do it just because thinking it's a compliance thing, we need to do it. Make it more, because your employees, they are first line of defense, and they can help you to prevent those attacks from happening in the first place if you give them, the right comprehensive training. We need also to leverage AI-driven solution to provide more real-time monitoring and anomaly detection. And we have to also making sure we are providing a more proactive against the attacks. And as I said, the zero trust model now becomes, it's so crucial, it's so important. And also conducting a regular patch management, implementing a comprehensive vulnerability scanning. It's so important to maintain a security posture. And let me also remind you with something. It's not just about having defenses in place. It's about ensuring that they are evolving as threats they keep evolving a lot. Thank you. Next slide, please. Now, what's the key takeaways, just to make sure we are leaving some time for Q&A. Let me say this, as we are moving into 2024, and we're almost at the end of 2024, looking forward for 2025, it's very clear that cybersecurity is not longer an IT issue, but more it's a business issue. And if you're really making the right investment in the cybersecurity, meaning you're protecting your business, we have, with experience, collaboration between line of businesses, between departments, and leadership is very important as a critical for a unified defense strategy. In no company, you should think that the InfoSec or the cybersecurity department, they are responsible, but this is a shared responsibility across the organization. And we need to have more proactive mitigation. It's very crucial. We have to learn from every incident to enhance our future prevention measures. And cybersecurity, as I said again and again, is a shared responsibility. We need to foster a security-first culture, ensuring that every individual in the organization understand and how to maintain the integrity of our systems. And even I can voice this out. I still believe, the sharing or the role of everyone, whether you are in the first line, the second line of defense, it has to be part of your performance, of your, semi-annual or annual performance. It's very important. And let me remind you, in today's landscape, supply chain security is not just a proactive measure, it's a strategic imperative. Thank you so much for listening to us. And I hope we help you with, to remind you with some stuff, and when something will resonate with you when you go back to your, to your work tomorrow. And I think we have 5 minutes for Q&A, if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Faris. It's a great presentation. So we open the floor for questions if you have, and if you don't have, we will be connected. It is here also. It's more further reading materials. We attach it at the end of the slide, and also we have the any follow-up question you may have. We have the LinkedIn information, and we have the email address.
Okay, back to you, Alonso, if there is no questions.
Yeah, and then Ethan, so I think we conclude our presentation. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.